Hi, Ian. Just looking at your poster now, and it looks a lot. I mean, I think you made a lot of really great improvements, and I'm pleased with some of the things that you've done here. They look really good. A couple of things I do want to point out to you, and a couple of things I think could still work. You could still do to improve the overall poster. At this point, I guess my personal feeling might be that you might want to you might want to take a look at your fonts in your up here in your title. It looks like you're still using maybe Arial or Cambria, but that's the only place you're using those fonts now. So, you know, I would try to integrate it a little bit more. So you might want to use one of these fonts down here, maybe in your figure captions, or change the fonts up there so that using a couple of fonts is good, but just having fonts that are only used up in your title information doesn't necessarily seem like the best route. Um, Also, remember that you need to put in your affiliation. So Ian Anderson, Program on the Environment, University of Washington. Jeff Adams, Washington Sea Grant, University of Washington. And Sea Grant is actually two words, so Sea Grant. And then Christy Strauss, Program on the Environment, University of Washington. You should spell out Program on the Environment as well there. Um, Other things that I should mention, I think that your background, you might need just one more little bit of information, because citizen science isn't always something that's very well known to people. So um, you might want to explain what citizen science is. Um, and then also your second bullet point, critics have claimed that citizen science is not effective. And I guess what you mean is citizen scientists are not effective due to their lack, because you're saying their relative lack of professional experience. So I think that would be the point to make. Also, you don't say anything about confidence and the potential relationship between confidence and effectiveness up front, and so that might be something else to add. And I think you could probably add one or two more bullet points to your background by moving your research question down and then simplifying some of your points here in your methods. So before we get there, in terms of your research question, this looks good, except for I don't think you need a bullet point for it. That's just one thought. You might also make it bold. So again, so it really stands out from the rest. Because you've already gone down to 3 lines, if you want to increase the size just a little bit more to put a couple more words on that third line, that's an idea too. In terms of your methods, first one seems fine. I think you could probably eliminate the second one. And by the way, there's just a random F there as well. You could probably take that out. I don't know that you need to necessarily point out that second bullet point. You could probably combine with the third bullet point and say observe volunteers at 6 sites doing trapping and molt surveys, molt and rack surveys, or something like that. Again, simplify that. You can put that all into 2 lines. He conducted a post-work survey, and then you could say assess volunteers' performance, scoring, and then the scoring. I don't know is up, if that's really that important. I mean, the only reason to point out the scoring is if you were going to show the scores over here, and you're not doing that. So, I think that 1 through 4, it's a Likert scale. Is 1 high or is 1 low? It's difficult to know. So I think that you don't really need to mention the scoring categories. The only, over here where you mention it scores of at least 4, kind of point out what a score of 3 is, right? If that's generally confident, then just say it there. You don't need to put in a score of 3, because, for most people aren't going to know what a score of 3 really is. So if you do that, then you can cut out a big chunk of this last one too. That really simplifies your methods quite a bit. Then Generally, with your figure captions, I think you need a bit more detail. The whole point of the caption, remember, is to provide enough information that the visual aid stands alone and doesn't require more information from the text. So you really should include the who, what, when, where, why, and how whenever possible. It's okay to do that. You can provide a little bit more detail in these captions without too much trouble. And I think there's opportunities for that. For instance, up here, you should probably try to line up the information within the boxes. So background, conclusion, those should probably be at the same level. The image here could probably be moved up as well. In terms of the results, I like what you've done here. You might want to go results : confidence, results : effectiveness, and this is all interesting. This point here about fish in the bucket, that's fairly specific. So if you could try to put that into some sort of context, what does it mean that they didn't put water in the bucket? Does that mean that they maybe need a refresher on the protocol? Does that indicate that they need to review the protocols on a more regular basis? Think about that. And then this last point, post-survey results, I'm not exactly sure where that fits. It seems kind of out of place with your confidence results and your effectiveness results. And so I would try to incorporate it into that. Or if you want, you could put it inside your conclusions. That's also an option. I would point out that I like that you increase the size of these graphics. Really good, really, really valuable information. But one thing I will point out about these is that they are really your results, right? So I guess what I would say is I think I would probably flip these around and put these up here and put your conclusions down lower. That's just one thought I have. I also want to point out that this first point of your conclusion is a little bit unclear what you mean, because are you talking David Delaney here, who by the way I don't think is any longer a graduate student? He's talking about he's mentioning that citizen scientists overall produce good data, particularly when monitoring, I think, for invasive species. And so you want to point out that they monitor for invasive species elsewhere, and so the volunteers in this program do a good job as well. That's great. Right now, the way it's worded, it's unclear that you're talking about a different program. The other thing that I would say about the conclusions, and again, usually we talk about the significance or the broader implications rather than conclusions. You really want to try to extend this out. So what does this mean? Should citizen science programs really focus on doing these evaluations and assessing their volunteers' performance to see how confident and effective they are? Do you see the value in that? Is that something that should be expanded to other programs? That's the kind of thing that might be valuable in sort of the significance section in this case. So I think that might be a point that you would want to make there as well. Okay, so those are just a couple of thoughts on your poster that I think looks a lot better. Just keep in mind as you're doing your final work on this that you're trying to put this in the context of the confidence and effectiveness of citizen science programs generally, but you're using the Green Crowd program as sort of your case study. So whenever you can, try to take the results that you're finding here and think about them, how they could be generally applicable to other programs. But I think you have done a lot here to enhance this, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the final product when you present it. So I mean, I'm happy to look at more information or another version if you'd like, or we can just see each other on Monday. Oh, the only other thing I would say is that the only place you have a citation is in this last bullet point, and I'm not sure you really need that unless you're going to include a citation section with the full reference. So you might want to take that out. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.